Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of World of Warships closed beta testing with tanks for the Mammeries. The series is called Motorboating with Mammeries. Today we've got some Cleveland fights that I want to show you. And while we're looking at these fights, I wanted to talk a little bit about the movement controls for your keyboard and how to control your warships in World of Warships. So while we're watching these fights, I'll do a little narration of the fights themselves as well as talking about the keyboard commands. So what we've got today is 3 or 4 fights here in the Cleveland, which is the American cruiser. It's a pretty good ship. It's got fairly rapid firing guns and a lot of them, and it can take some hits, but not a tremendous amount. The turrets are pretty weak as far as armor is concerned, so you can get your guns knocked out. But it's got relatively decent speed. It's got relatively decent firing distance, and it is maneuverable. The problem with the Cleveland, for me, I feel, is that I don't perform as well with it as I should, and I'll explain that as we get into the video here with some of these fights, but it seems to me that I end up having to take on a lot more power than I can by myself. The teams, as the teams sort of fall apart or ships get sunk, you end up, being one or two of the last people on your team, and you're landing a whole ton of hits, but you're not really doing as much damage as you need to in order to pull the game back. Anyway, so here we are in the Cleveland. And as we move down to this side of the map, we're going to start spotting some of the folks that are going to be coming down this corridor. So while we're getting into position there and before the shooting starts, let's just talk briefly about some of the keyboard commands. So everybody is aware, that you have the WASD keys, and that the W key and the S key, W for forward obviously and to increase your speed, and S to decrease your speed, stop your ship, and begin to move backwards. The W and the S key act as if they were a telegraph, like on a real ship, where the engine telegraph, you move the lever forward or backwards, and it gives you, quarter speed, half speed, three-quarter speed, full speed if you push it forward, which is your W key, and then it has from the basically the center position, S moving backwards is stop, and then full reverse. The D moves you to the starboard, and A moves you to the port, towards port. So those are those keys. Then you have what's called cruise angle right, which is the E key, which is, if you push it, it will hold a starboard turn, not a full starboard turn, but it'll start to move you gradually to starboard. If you press it twice, it essentially locks it down into what's called a hard starboard turn. And then you have the same for going left, cruise angle left, which is your Q key. If you hold it once, it's going to turn you to port gradually. If you press it twice, it'll go hard to port for you. So you can use those when you want to make circling turns. Typically out in the open, it does make it more difficult for the enemy to hit you because you're constantly changing your vector and your angles and your distance from the enemy ship. So let's take a break for just a second, get back to the action here. We went around to the sort of the 0 line, the 9-0 line, and we're supporting a couple of destroyers that went up that way. And then I took a big old hit from, I guess it's a battleship back there. So what we're trying to do right now is support this destroyer who basically just got whacked real hard by that destroyer as he came around the corner. He should have been prepared for that. So we're going to put some decent hits into this enemy destroyer right here. But we set him on fire. We do some critical damage to him, knock out some turrets and things like that. And he does get whacked by the other destroyer. So that's good news. At this point, we've already shot down an airplane, done a good bit of damage, had some critical hits, set somebody on fire, but we're taking some fire from this battleship back there. So we've got a couple of destroyers still in there, still in the fight, and I decided at this point I'm going to go support them because they're probably going to do some damage to that battleship, but they're probably not going to knock him out before they get killed. So I'm going to try and get back in the fight. I ended up having to go around this island because I wasn't going to make the turn. So it's going to take me a little longer to get back to those guys than I wanted to, but I am on my way. So right now we're actually down 2 ships to 1. We only knocked out that 1 destroyer, and they've got a cruiser of ours already and a destroyer. So, you know, things aren't looking great. Our destroyers over there on the 9-10 line have put down some smoke, but they are still going up against that battleship. So at this point, I'm going to give them a little notice that I'm coming to help them. And what I'm going to tell them to do is, as soon as I can get into range, for them to distract that guy so I can get up there and start putting some shots into him. And I will distract him so that they can get into torpedo solution. So that's the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and tell them that in just a second. So we're waiting for that to develop here. And I'm leading the guy. He's coming towards me, and I'm trying to lead him. I'm not sure exactly what his speed is yet because the smoke has made it very difficult for me to see sort of what he's really doing, and then, you know, he keeps disappearing in and out of it. But we'll get the range soon enough, and he's about to find my range. So he just that was a good shot for him. He just fired a good shot at me. So here's where I tell the 2 destroyers to that I'm going to distract this guy so they can put some torpedoes into him. And it's actually going to work. He's already put some shots into me and then gave up on me and focused on those guys. You can see some torpedoes went behind him there. So here we are moving forward to try and get up on this guy while the destroyers distract him. Now, getting back to some of the controls at this point, we talked about the Q key and the E key for hard starboard, hard port turns, or circling, so the rudder stays in one position. Whoops, actually, let's get back to this. So the destroyers were able to put some good torpedoes into this guy, and in the meantime, I'm getting some solid hits on him. His guns are facing the other direction. So the only thing I'm worried about right now is his secondary fire, which is starting to give me a little bit of trouble. But I'm at his waterline. I've loaded armor piercing, and we're putting some good hits into his waterline, trying to hit the Citadel, hit his engines there. What I'm aiming for is either to get the engines or the aft turret magazine. So we're on the waterline, trying to get some good shots into him. He's starting to bring his guns around, and at this point, it's just a matter of, will I be able to get off enough shots to kill him before we can get those guns around, those primaries around into me. So, you know, you can see we're getting 10 to 11 shots into him per firing, and there he goes. So we were able to kill that guy. But in the meantime, both the destroyers that were on our team got whacked, and I took some pretty significant damage. So we're not doing too well. We're actually losing by 3. And it's at this point in time I'm trying to make the decision as to whether or not I should swing back around and head back to my cap or keep going forward. And I probably should have gone back to cap. See, this is where I'm trying to debate what I should do here. And I probably should have gone ahead and swung back around to cap. I didn't do it. Instead, I decided to go straight on towards their cap. Good call, bad call, I don't know. My first thought was that I'd put some pressure on these guys and maybe I could find their carriers or something. Didn't really work. So while the ship is moving that direction, we'll talk about a couple of the other controls. So to get back to cruise angle neutral, in other words, to center your rudder back to where it should be, rudder amidships, hit the H key. The H key centers your rudder. To turn on or off your anti-aircraft fire, if you're a destroyer and you're trying to sneak around, and your spotting range from the air is relatively short, then toggling your air defense anti-aircraft fire is using the P key. If you hit the P key on your screen down by your high explosive shell count button, there'll be a little yellow P that shows up inside a aiming reticle, and that tells you that your anti-aircraft guns have been turned off, which will allow you to hide either in smoke or behind a hill or whatever if aircraft are in the air nearby. If you start firing at them, in many cases you will be firing at them beyond what they would consider to be their visual range on you, which then gives you away. So if you're a destroyer in smoke or you're a cruiser trying to hide, you can toggle your anti-aircraft fire on and off by hitting the P key. So at this point in time, we're going to come around towards their cap. I think it's me, and I think it's an Omaha at this point. But you can see the enemy is in our cap now, and so whatever I was planning to do is gone by the wayside, and I'm going to try and swing around here and go back and help out my cap. So gonna head around this island and head straight back down towards my base. Just no sense in trying to even get to their cap because they're almost capped us out. It's either an Omaha or Phoenix. I forget what it is there. No. Anyway, so he's starting to put some fire in on the guys in the cap, which is actually holding the cap down. It's not the count is not going up anymore, but I'm not in a position yet where I can get to him to help out. So he's doing his best. The counter's starting to go up again now, but he's going to get some shots into these guys and reduce it again, which is really fantastic. Good cap defense here. So I'm planning on doing the same thing as fast as I can get down there. I want to get in there and help him out. But it's basically now he and I guess our carrier. So there's not a lot we're going to be able to do about this. Well, I'm getting there as fast as I can, and we're spotted. So we're going to start seeing shell fire coming pretty quick. But we can start putting some fire onto cap. We did little defense there, and we're going to do some more. But there's too many of them, and their ships are just too big for us to deal with. I've got decent rate of fire, but I just don't have the damage capacity to take these guys out. So trying to knock that cruiser out of the game. He's very weak, but he's got rapid firing guns and he can do a lot of damage to me. So I'm going to try and get rid of him, and then we can work on the other one. There's a Cleveland back there, and then there's that battleship. But we'll try and get some fire into this guy. Now our sister cruiser there is on fire, taking serious damage. Probably not going to survive very long. But there we go. So we took out that other cruiser. Now we think it's basically 2-2. So while I'm putting some fire into this guy, the battleship is going around the island. He's going to pop out sooner or later. We're hoping we can do a significant amount of damage to this guy in the meantime, that he won't be a factor anymore. But it just doesn't look like we're going to be able to do as much damage to this guy as we want to in the amount of time we need before that battleship pops back up. And there he is. And then, besides just the battleship, there is another ship with him who will pop up in just a second, I believe. So we're able to get some fire off on this guy. Yep, there's the other ship right there. So he just took a big old hit, I think, from torpedo planes or something, because he had plenty of health until we spotted him and then disappeared. So as you can see, we've done some good cap defense. That the capture timer's gone back down significantly, and this guy's just sitting still. So if we'd had probably one more battleship with us at this point in the game, we probably could have pulled this out. I think it was that close. So anyway, that's about it for this. We're gonna end up losing. We get into the next clip here, and I'll show you some more, or I'll talk some more about the battleship controls. And at the end of this, I will be posting photographs into the video of the battleship control cheat sheet that I made so that you are able to screen capture it, print it out if you want to. Anyway, so here we are on the next fight in Cleveland again, and while we're waiting for ourselves to get into position, why don't we do some more of the controls. So we talked about the toggling the air defense on and off. The shift key is used to toggle your zoom from regular to full binoculars. I'm zooming in on the target there. Get the camera to face ahead is the V button, or using your right mouse button. To center the camera is the C control, or the C button. First person shooter camera is B. The free camera, in order to move all the way around, is backspace plus right shift plus right control. Free camera lift, number pad 7. Free camera land, number pad 9. Tracking your shell fire, when you fire a shell, if you want to watch the shells in flight, it is the Z button. So you fire and then you click the Z button and you can follow your shells to the target. To move your camera around on the map is the right mouse button plus your left control button. To zoom in and out, obviously, is to use the mouse wheel to scroll to zoom in and out of your view. To shoot, obviously, is your left mouse button. Aim at the target. When your gun reticle turns green, your guns are aligned on the target and you hit the left mouse button. If you click the left mouse button one time, it fires one gun. If you double click it, it will fire all the guns that bear on the target. If you hold the left mouse button down, it will fire all the guns that can bear on the target, one after the other, what's called ripple fire. As you can see right here in this, I am double clicking, which is firing, well, that was a single click because my guns are forward. But as I angle my ship, if I'm able to angle my ship, I will put all my guns to bear on the target. And fuck that, that's too much. If you have a middle mouse button, you can do what's called cinematic shoot, which is firing one gun and it will shift to tracking the shell in flight. And if you're trying to lead targets, this is pretty useful for that, because you click the middle mouse button, it fires a single gun and allows you to track that shell all the way to the target. So you can, for leading purpose, you can determine from there what you have to do to shift your guns to get more accurate. Back the fuck off. The action button, which is the right mouse button, is a third-person view zoomed out behind the ship. What happens is if you hold down the right mouse button, you will lift your camera above your ship and be able to look around your ship while leaving your guns in one spot. So you angle your guns, then you click your right mouse button, and you're able to look around at your surroundings while your guns stay trained in one direction. When you release the button, your view will go back to where it was on before you hit the key. In other words, if your guns are pointing somewhere and you release the right mouse button, you will zoom back into your ship to face the direction your guns are facing. Your torpedoes and your guns will not change their orientation when you're holding down the right mouse button key. So that's some of those for now. In the fight here so far, we're each down 2 ships. I'm able to get some fire in. As you can see, I'm doing some ripple fire on that target in the distance, pretty close to where he was. He went out of view behind that island, so my fire's not that accurate. But he's popping in and out, so we're hoping we'll be able to land some shots on him. At this point in time, if you have a target like that, see what I just did there? I just clicked the Alt button. We'll talk about it more in a minute. But he was behind that island, and I was trying to figure out how to get some shots into him to make sure I was accurate. So if you hit the Alt button as you're aiming at a target, you can see the distance to the target above the reticle when it says that you have the white circle around the target's name. That tells you how far away the target is. If you hold down the Alt button while you have a vessel targeted, it will tell you how far away your aim line in your reticle is from that target. So for a guy that's behind the island there, I put that Alt button on to see that I would line up my firing level on my reticle with where I thought he was going to be. So I was trying to get some accurate fire. You don't really need it as much when you're in the open like this, because you can really, at this point, it's just a matter of lead. But let's, while we're trying to kill this Omaha, I guess it's an Omaha, Phoenix or an Omaha, put some good shots in on that guy. He's about to get torpedoed just as I fire, and there he goes. So let's talk about some of the target and weapon commands. These are the buttons that will switch between armor-piercing, high-explosive, and torpedoes. If you are aiming at a target in a cruiser or destroyer with your guns, and the white circle is over the target and he's in your reticle, if you switch from guns to torpedo, you must reacquire the same target again with the X button. And the X button is what targets the ships that you're looking at. So for artillery ammunition for your primaries, the 1 button selects high explosive. That is the default setting. When the ship's loaded into the game, you are automatically loaded in with high explosive shells. If you want to change those, double click the number 2 button, which selects your primaries to be firing armor piercing. The 3 button is for selecting torpedoes. If you hit it 1 time, you will switch from your primary to your torpedoes. If you hit it twice, that will adjust the spread that you fire your torpedoes. The hitting 3 the first time is a wide spread. Hitting 3 the second time narrows the spread, the focus of the spread down. So if you've got a good shot on somebody close and you want to put a lot of torpedoes into one spot, double click the 3 button. Fixing the target position is the X key, as I talked about before. If you are aiming at a target and the white circle is over the target's name, if you hit the X button, you will shift from that target to something else. You can cycle through targets by hitting the X button. It also turns on the lead assist if you are in torpedo mode. The green fan is the area in which you can fire your torpedoes. The gray cone, either within that fan or outside of it, is if you have a target marked, the gray cone determines the lead you must place on your torpedoes in order to hit that target if he were to maintain his speed and vector. It's not always accurate, but that's what it's for. Moving on, a lot of people have asked this question about how to get your guns locked in a certain direction. There are 2 different commands for this. One is absolute gun lock, which is your left shift plus the X button at the same time. This locks your guns on a cursor location relative to the map. The guns will turn to keep locked on whatever that area is that you've pointed them to. You have to hit it again to turn it off. So absolute gun lock is left shift plus X, keeps your guns pointed at a certain location on the map. They will rotate relative to the bearing of your ship. While you move around, they will stay focused in that area. You have to hit it again to turn them off. Then you have what's called relative gun lock, which is left control plus X. Locks the guns on a cursor location relative to your ship. The guns will not rotate after they have moved to this position. So if you turn to starboard and you want your guns turning to port and you want them to stay turned that way relative to your ship, say broadside, the relative gun lock, which is left control plus X, will keep your guns facing the direction you have them pointed, and as your ship turns, the guns stay locked relative to that. So if the bow of your ship is 12 o'clock and you want to turn your guns to starboard and lock them, turn them to 3 o'clock while your ship is whatever direction it's going. The guns will always stay at 3 o'clock relative to the bow of your ship, which is 12 o'clock. Does that make sense? So it's left control plus X to keep the guns locked in a certain location facing off your ship. Absolute gun lock, left shift plus X, puts them towards a spot on the map, so no matter where you turn, they stay focused on that spot on the map. So here's a big battleship coming out from around the corner. We're going to put some good gunfire into the citadel area of the ship. We're within his secondary's range, but as you can see, we're getting off a tremendous number of shots on this guy. And we should be able to take him out here pretty quick. I am actually moving so fast that I'm swinging around in front of him, and I'm pretty concerned actually that I'm going to get so far in front of him that his guns are going to be able to bear on me, and he is going to be able to hit me. But what I'm trying to do is put shots straight into the flattest part of the ship relative to me, and as you can see, we were able to take him out. So that was 43 hits on target for that guy right there. And he couldn't do anything about it because he was pointing somewhere else. So we're still losing pretty bad, but I just put a good hit on that guy. Yeah, we're still, well, I guess we're down by 1, but you know, again, another one of these fights where I'm not sure we're going to be able to do everything we can to win it. I was worried about those torpedoes. They're actually not going to make it to me, but at that point in time I wasn't sure what kind of torpedoes he had. Moving back to some of the other controls, looking at maps and navigation. Obviously the tactical map, which is in the lower right hand portion of the screen, if you want to get to that map, you hit the M button and it will bring the map all the way up. If you have it on your screen in this position, you can see mine is a bit larger than what is normally in the game. You can change the size, you can increase the scale or decrease the scale of the map by hitting the equal button, plus button to go up, and the minus dash button to go down. Those are the buttons that are located just to the right of the 0 key on your keyboard. So the equal plus button makes the map bigger, and the minus dash button makes the map smaller. If you are in map mode and you want to set your autopilot, the first waypoint is determined by putting your mouse cursor somewhere over the map and clicking the left mouse button. That will set the first waypoint for you to begin the autopilot on your ship. If you want to set additional autopilot waypoints, it is left shift plus left mouse button at different locations on the map. You can choose up to 5, and you can separate them as far as you want to. And a lot of people I know in battleships and aircraft carriers set those immediately, and I think it's a good idea. It goes ahead and gets you where you can focus on doing the rest of the things with your ship that you need to. For aircraft carriers, getting your planes off. For battleships, it's getting yourself organized to a point where you can begin to turn your guns and get your aircraft off your scout plane off the deck, that sort of thing. We're taking some pretty good fire from these cruisers here, but we are gonna be able to take at least one of these guys out. Good Citadel hit on him just then, but I've been set on fire. I've already used my damage control kit, so I have a cooldown period on it of about a minute, and I am really in pain now. I've been damaged quite a bit. I probably don't have much life left. And again, this is another one we're going to lose here, even though we've got 120 hits pretty much at this point in time. Here comes some torpedoes. But there we go. So now we're dead. But we did manage to kill one of those cruisers. Again, 120 something hits, and we just can't pull it off. That's kind of how I feel like this Cleveland is most of the time. It's a very difficult ship to play. So on the we're almost finished with this game right here. We got another game to show you. We'll run through that one. I've got 2 more games to show you, but we'll go ahead and talk some more about some of the different controls here for the maps and navigation. So we talked about the additional waypoints, setting those with left shift plus left mouse. The free cursor is left control when you're in the map view. There are some other controls that I'm not sure are still working in the game or not. We'll have to check those out later on. But next to the P key on your keyboard, there are 2 sort of like parentheses type things. One of those is to show aircraft, and the other's to show dead. If you want to get somebody's attention in the game by highlighting a place on the map, you go to map and you click the left mouse button twice over what sector on the map you're interested in having people look at, and if you double click it twice real quick, it will highlight that sector and ping it. It does not work after you are dead.
Oh,
You can only highlight on the map
You
at
just
this
got
point in
fucked.
the game while you were still alive. You cannot get to the
Managed
map
get
while you're
tore
dead.
down. Right
There are a bunch of aircraft carrier commands that I'm not going to really get into until we get to an airplane, until we get to an aircraft carrier.
That was a fun game.
Anyway, that's the end of that battle right there. We'll pull up the screen. Again, another defeat. 120 something hits. A bunch of criticals. A bunch of ships sunk. Still just couldn't pull it off. So we'll take a look at this one again. Another Cleveland battle. Take a look at this fight for a little bit, and we'll continue to talk about some of the final controls that I think are of interest to you that are not related to aircraft carriers. Alright, so the last set of commands for your keyboard that I'd like to talk about today before I get on with some of the narration of the fight are the game information commands. So, for example, the F1 key, if you hold the F1 key, it'll take you to the help screen. While you're holding down the F1 key, use your mouse to select one of the other of the help screens that are there. Game stats is the tab key. It will give you a list of the players and show you if they are sunk or still afloat and the current number of kills they have in the battle. The icons is your left alt button. Shows the player name, the hit points, range, shell travel time. All of that is an icon above the ship. You have to hold it down. It is not a toggle. If you hold it down, you can see the information on the target that you're looking at, how far he is, and that's what I was talking about earlier when a ship was behind that island, and I wanted to fire at him. You can see where he is. If you hold the Alt button down, you can determine your reticle range to allow you to fire ahead of the ship and hopefully at the same distance that he is, so you can hit him when he's behind something. So that's what that is. It's the left Alt button. Hold it down, it gives you the information. If you release it, the information disappears. There is some talk that will be turned into an actual toggle, but for now it is not. Then we have the consumable commands, and pretty much everybody knows this. They show up on your screen at the bottom there next to the ammunition buttons. You have the repair button, which is R. You have the and when you hit the repair button, obviously it repairs whatever damage your ship has taken to that point, unless a gun is completely knocked out and signified by a red X over the gun. But otherwise, it will repair the damage to your ship. There is a cooldown period, which varies based on your crew skill, experience, the size of ship, that sort of thing. But R is the one that puts out the fire, stops flooding, and repairs damaged modules. It will not repair destroyed modules. Consumable number 2 is the T key. The T key for destroyers is smoke. It is the scout aircraft for cruisers and for aircraft carriers. The Y button is consumable number 3, which is the protective barrage for ships that are equipped with 2 or more multi-purpose guns. It is also the battleship repair recovery crew. So battleships can repair damage if they're, you get hit a few times, you start to turn yellow. If you use the Y button, it will send the repair crews out to begin to repair the ship and recover some of your health. Just a note about the scout plane at this point: when you launch your scout plane, you have no control over the movement of the scout. It's something I've really wanted Wargaming to address, to allow you to set at least 1 or 2 waypoints for your scout to go out to. Right now it just sort of hovers around your ship and doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Consumable number 4 is the U button. I don't have anything that I am aware of at this point in time that the consumable button U actually does. Consumable 5 is the I button. It is not implemented yet either in the game. And then the last one that's sort of important at this point in time is when you're playing the game, you have a tremendous amount of information on the screen. You have obviously the number of ships across the top on both teams. You have the player information windows on both sides of the screen. You've got the chat window. You've got the ship direction and health bar. You've got the guns at the bottom, and you have the map on the lower right-hand side. If you hit left control plus the G button, all of that information will disappear from the screen. So again, to hide all of the information on the screen, you hit the left control plus G button at the same time, and it will take all the information away. So if you're in the middle of a great fight and you want to do a screen capture, if you hit left control plus G, it will remove everything off the screen, so you can then do a screen capture and get a nice image of that. Make sure that when you do one, though, it's going to put it to a clipboard, which you will then have to put into Paint or some other program. So you will only have the opportunity to save one image at a time. So just be aware you'll overwrite whatever you just screenshot if you do a second screenshot. So those are the basic controls at this point in time. We'll talk later on about the aircraft carrier controls, because there are some different controls for that, and it's a bit more complex, and I would rather show you with aircraft carriers in a game what those controls do. As a final caveat to this, thank you for watching and getting so far along in it. Again, I will be posting a cheat sheet of these commands at the end of this video, but also the controls will be changing over time. If there's a patch, it could remove or add controls that I don't have listed. I do apologize if any of these controls are incorrect for your keyboard. It's the best I've got at this point in time, and I hope it is helpful to you. So feel free to leave comments and corrections at the bottom of the video. Any input is helpful, and we'll get back to some of the game commentary at this time. Thanks very much. Right, so here we are again in the Cleveland in another big old fight, landing 100-something hits, 32 on target right there, just for that guy alone. And he obviously ran into the island. I was fighting that Omaha earlier, and then when the Omaha died, this guy was right there, and I thought I was totally screwed. He hit the island, but he actually made a pretty good job getting out of getting stuck there. And I start missing some shots because he's accelerating a whole lot faster than I originally thought he was going to. But I finally managed to get a couple of final shots in on him, while I had run into an island at the same time. So not the best position to be in, but there wasn't anybody else around, so we were able to survive that. But we're down, again, 3 ships to their more than they're down. So it's another one of these fights I don't think we're going to pull off. And but I got to keep going. I'm not damaged significantly at this point in time, which is surprising after going up against that last guy. But we managed to get a little lucky there with RNG and get the kill. So got a couple of kills so far, a couple of Citadel hits, and it's time to carry the fight on. So pretty much this side of the map is clear. It's just the other side of the map now that we've got to worry about, and we just don't have a lot of ships left. So I've got to get my guns over there, and I've got to get them on target. You got to get your guns in the fight. So I'm going to do my best to push across our cap circle and make our way over to that side. Right, so as you can see, there are 4 very large targets at this point coming around, and there are a few of us out there, but I'm going to try and go for this guy that I can reach, who is facing me. My shots are a little short at this point, but I'm trying to get him because he can't bring as many guns to bear on me, and he's firing at another target, so this is going to give me the opportunity to put some good damage into him, essentially for free, husband my health, and try and reduce him as he's firing on another target. Again, not the best aim in the world, but I'm starting to get some angle on him at this point. Now we should be able to start reducing him. That's a good set of shells right there. 5 hits on him. But there's just so many targets out there. I'm starting to get shell fire from somebody else. So he's out of my range, but he's able to shoot at me. So we just got to keep focusing on this guy and hope that we can bring him down. Now, again, out of range, out of range. That's pretty much it for me, is this guy right here. And he's starting to turn, so those shots went out of the way. And Not quite where I wanted to have them. Only got 2 that time. There we go. We should be more there. There we go. Yeah, it's just really a really frustrating game again, you know. Just can't seem to kill these guys. Now I'm going to start taking serious fire here in a minute. So I'm starting to back off a little bit, make it as hard for them as possible to hit me. Let's see if we can get the proper lead on this guy. Those look pretty good. Some hits on him. Now he changed his bearing, so I've had to really adjust my gunfire and relative to his direction now. So we took out a gun. I'm going to swing around a bit and see if we can't get some fire in on that guy. But there's just so many targets out there, and there's just not enough of us. It's just 2 of us left against all these guys, and no matter how well I do, it's just going to be the weight of guns that that in the end make the difference on the who wins and who loses here. And the reason I'm going after this destroyer right now, because he's in range, but he's also very dangerous because he can torpedo me, and I want to keep him off me so I can make the run away. So I realize he's not as maybe important a target as some of the other ships are, but he is a very dangerous opponent for me at this time. So it looked like he was trying to make a torpedo run on me through that smoke, and I wanted to do my best to kind of keep him off. So now that he's pushed away, gives me the opportunity to turn around and try and put some more fire into these guys. It's just a matter of time here as to when we lose, but my thought was at least, you know, try and do something. And I'm not, just so you're aware, I'm not paying attention to the map. I am absolutely not paying attention to the map. I've been running so long that I am about to whack into the border of the map, and that is going to be it for me. And I wish they would do like the collision alarm thing. Getting some good hits over there on this guy, but it's just not going to be enough. I think that they had like, I don't even know how many, they had 3, 4 Clevelands left, and yeah, so here I am stuck on the map, skating sideways, which is really interesting. No collision alarm, so that didn't really help me. Just gonna get destroyed here in a second. This guy's doing a good job of changing his speed and his direction. So I can't hit him anymore. Managed to get off the line, thank God, but it's not going to do a whole lot of good for me. Son of a bitch. The guns are facing the wrong way. Another Cleveland's got me broadside. It just gets worse and worse. There, I got my guns turned around, but he's just hit me smack dead right in the middle. That's it.
God damn it.
So, one last fight
shots
to show you, and then I'll be posting up the screenshots of the keyboard control papers that I did, my cheat sheet, and we'll go from there. So, you know, what do? Another one of those fights.
Like this.
So, stick around for one more.
Cleveland.
Alright, so just to switch things up a bit and make it not quite so frustrating, this is a Cleveland fight again. Also recorded last night along with all the ones you saw previous. It was one big session that I recorded. And we are actually going to win this one. We're not going to win it by destroying all the enemy ships. No, that would be way too difficult. We're going to win this by capping out. But it's domination mode, which I actually like. I know a lot of people don't like the domination mode, but I actually like it because you have to split your forces. You have to think about way more than just go here, shoot that. And it really does keep guns in the fight. It makes people have to actually get in the fight. They can't just run off somewhere and disappear and try to survive the game. So I think it's interesting, and I like how they have some of the domination caps in open water, and some surrounded by islands, some that are small, some that have hiding spots in them, good ambush places. I actually enjoy this this style of play. A lot of people are going to say they hate it. I would do this, and I would do the single cap over having the traditional, you know, I have my spawn, you have your spawn. Those are the cap points we've got to get to. There's too many draws, in my opinion, on the traditional 2 cap maps. I like domination, and I like the single cap maps the best. So, anyway, here we are moving along. I'm heading over to the cap that traditionally has the destroyers in it. Me and another Cleveland, and there's a destroyer up here who's going to get whacked. Obviously, there's shell fire coming, and they can see us. We can't see them. Our destroyer's not far enough ahead to help us spot the enemy ships. I'm only at half speed at this point because I knew there were going to be people over here, and I wanted to hang back a little bit to be able to get as much gunfire as I could on target and husband my own health. So we're starting to see the first one. A ton of torpedoes in the water. Now it's time to get some shots on target. So the other Cleveland is going to start taking some pretty significant damage. And our destroyer is going to get hammered. So able to dodge these torpedoes. I knew they were coming. There was just no doubt that their guys were going to be putting some torpedoes in the water. So there's an enemy Cleveland. He's already on fire. Not quite the right range. So adjusting the range a little bit. Put some more shells out there. He's starting to move away. I think I'm going to miss him with this batch because he's just starting to turn away. Yeah, that was good defense on his part. But there's a Grimyashi. I think that's a Grimyashi. So we're going to go ahead and put some fire into him. He's launching torpedoes. We know that. And we're going to make him pay for it, though. That's for sure. So there the torpedoes are in the water. I should be able to angle and miss those. Yeah, the turn on this thing is not the best in the world, but it worked. So I was able to dodge all those. But now I only have my rear guns that I can use to fire on this guy, because I've got to let the torpedoes get past, and of course one of my guns is taken out. So I'm heading back to try and get under the cover of that other cruiser that was with me. Yeah, dodge most of that fire. guy slowed down. So we're going to have to get him in range. But I don't want to stick around by myself. That's one of these things on this map. One of these things in the game that's been the hardest for me to learn is that you don't have to go charging in there. You know, you don't get out ahead of everybody else. Don't be the first one in, because everybody will target you. Everybody. And, you know, you can run away. There's plenty of map space to run away. It's very fluid, and you've got plenty of opportunity to come back again later on or hit somebody different. Because it's a very slow, sort of methodical game until it all falls apart, and then it's real fast. And I think that's brilliant. I think Wargaming did a great job with it. So, trying to put some fire in on this guy. He's my aiming is a bit too far to the rear of the ship, but we're starting to figure it out. We're going to have, by the end of this fight, we're going to have 90 rounds on target. So it's going to be a pretty good, pretty good fight. What I'm starting to see is about, at distance, about 2 to 3 rounds on target per salvo. Yeah, they're misjudging me, which is fine and dandy. I'm more than happy to get away from these guys. So right now they're actually ahead on cap points, and they've killed way more of us than we've killed of them. But because I'm running away to live and fight another day, I can continue to put shell fire into these guys, keep them occupied, and hopefully get somewhere where I can do some damage against ships that are more likely to feel the pain from me. Now this Army Yogi just comes right out of the middle of it. God bless him. You know, he comes right out in the middle, and he is just going to get smoked. And I thought for a second I should go back and try and help this guy out, but he just, you know, it wasn't worth it. All he did was distract them from me, which I thought was great, but, you know, he could have made a bigger difference than he did, that's for sure. So at this point in time, I'm just picking targets and trying to take shots at anybody who gets in range. Fell behind. Those are going to be a little ahead, you know. So there's the dead Miyogi. Now there are ships over here that we can hit. So this guy's going to come out from back. And I'm going to... This is where you come in with the Alt key. Because I should have used it to determine sort of where he was behind that island, and waited for him to come out with shells on target. And I didn't use it. He disappeared into the smoke, and that kept me from being able to hit that guy. So this other guy's running to the island, and I'm hoping I can skirt around and use the islands to my port for cover from the battleships and cruisers that are all coming, and put some good fire into this guy while he's trying to back off of the island he ran into. So that was 5 rounds on target. That was pretty good. And he's just taking a lot of fire from everybody. But I'm starting to get shot from the guys that I was trying to hide from around that island. So there they come, trying to put good hits on me. A few more into that guy. And by the way, I know that there's other commentary underneath this. That's the actual game commentary that I recorded when I was recording the game. So apologies for talking over myself there, but I really did want to make sure that I was able to talk about the keyboard controls in a thoughtful manner. So, good Citadel hit on that guy at that point, and he just can't do anything about it. Not leading him far enough because he was able to get off that island pretty good. So that should be a good shot there. And again, I'm still running from those guys behind me. But what I have done is I've run to where other ships on my team are. So there's other people to be shot at besides just me.
Scout airborne.
Now there's other folks here. I should try and swing back in. Still getting shot at by all those guys. But they've taken some damage at this point, and it didn't quite happen. I don't know if it was aircraft that did it or what, but we were able to. Somebody was able to start hurting those guys as I ran off. If I'd stayed over there, yeah, I'd have gotten some hits on him, but I would have been dead, and our team would have been down a ship that has an incredible amount of damage per minute. So it made sense for me to try and just stay alive as long as possible. There's some good hits on that one. Now that's ripple fire right there. You can see what I just did. You saw all the guns in a row just fire one after the other.
Our victory is in.
So that was holding down the left mouse button to get ripple fire in on that ship. And we're really taking the points this time. Short of anybody dying, we should be in pretty good shape to win this game. So here's another time where the Alt button would come in handy. I can see the ship. I see him back there. I know where he is. And should have used the Alt key to be able to fire around that hillside. Get some shots on him there. Get a few more on him here. And that's going to be pretty much the end of the game. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope this is helpful. Stick around just a few minutes and I will have the keyboard control cheat sheet posted for you so that you can screen capture it and use it for yourself. Thanks very much for watching. Again, this is Tanks for the Mammeries, Motorboating with Mammeries, playing World of Warships closed beta test. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy what we see, feel free to leave comments. I really appreciate all the support. And thanks very much. So that ended up being 90 hits and a pretty good game. Finally won one in the Cleveland. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day.